Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, here to rank all the attributes in order in NBA 2K25. So from number 1 all the way to number 20, essentially. And you'll understand why it's 20. There's technically 21 ratings, but I'm just going to choose to not rank one or two of them. And you'll understand why as we get further on in the video. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you do, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new to noties, all good stuff. And like always, try us 2,000 likes. So what we're going to do, we're going to go from top to bottom in order of the ratings. So we're going to go close shot to lay to dunk and so on and so forth into the shooting, the playmaking, the defense, the rebounding, and the physicals. So like for instance, you're going to see I'm going to hit this undo button and it'll reveal the close shot rating. And then we're going to go on through the video. I think this would be a more fun way to do it rather than to rank it from number 20 all the way to 1. You can see it just more in kind of groupings, if you will, of the ratings of like the finishing into the shooting and stuff like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get straight into this. I hope you all enjoy. So with close shot, we have it ranked number 16. Again, understand that high is number 1, low is number 20, essentially. So this is on the low end of things. Number 16 is about like, you know, below average to pretty bad per se. Close shot obviously pertains to the post scorers and mostly just that. I wouldn't really argue close shot for mashing. It is still very good in terms of mashing, but I really don't think the elite level stands out compared to the low level. I think it's more just the counteraction of like people that have low interior D. It really is obvious versus the ones that have it high. I don't believe 99 close shot is what is dominant. I think it's the people that have 70 or below interior D as opposed to those who have 88. If you understand what I'm talking about between the interactions of interior D versus close shot. And you know, at the end of the day, something has to be ranked pretty low. A lot of these attributes are very useful in many different ways. Like you'll see plenty of them, obviously, that are just so useful at the high end as well as the low end. Close shot, I just don't believe deserves a ton of ranking power on the video personally. If you have a different opinion, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm sure some of you guys will unanimously, you know, stand out on some of these as far as your disagreements. This is obviously my opinions, and I may be biased in some cases as well into certain different things. Now, we have driving lay ranked very low, number 19, and personally, I just think that it's not powerful enough when it comes to the range and the contested hit ability. Now, I've seen some crazy layups in the rec center. I think rec, I just want to take all opinions out from my personal perspective when it comes to rec. I've just seen some crazy stuff in there where it's very offensive. The bias, it's like so crazy in terms of how well you can shoot contested, the driving lays, you know, contest and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't want to really allow it to skew my opinion on the game too much. And driving lays, at the end of the day, can, yes, hit contested at a decent rate when it comes to really close, you know, driving lays. But man, they really nerfed floaters this year. They really nerfed, you know, just the ability to hit contested layups with like the gathers and stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of layups being ranked high in this video. So when you compare it to all the other attributes, I just don't think it deserves to be up there as much. I don't think the gathers and the animations and stuff like that matter. Like I said, with the floaters, all the animations you can unlock with the Euro dunks and stuff like that, the hops, I don't think they matter a whole lot, in my opinion. I think this game is very ISO built or just like pick and roll built, where I don't believe it's so much crafty stuff that's really implemented. I think it's a lot more just open three, open dunk, open pick and roll, you know, open fade from three. I think there's not a whole lot of room for the finesse layup people in the world, if you will. And if you are someone who does that and you do it successfully, more power to you. That means you overcome me thinking that the ranking is bad. I think, honestly, if you look at this video and see something that you do well, ranked low, and you use that as something that you actually utilize to your game successfully, take that with a badge of honor, in my opinion, rather than to be salty at it. I think, if anything, if you see something ranked low in this video, you should take pride in the fact that you do it well, even though I have it ranked low. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move along. I hope everybody understands that not to take this way too to heart or anything like that. I'm more doing this video for fun than anything, but I'm sure a lot of people will get offended at plenty of the things in the video, but it is what it is. I'm just going to move along with it, and if people hate, it is what it is. So, anyway, it is what it is if you haven't heard that enough. 9 for driving dunk. I think this is good on the low end of things. Like obviously the people who have like 65 to 70 to 75, even 87, 89 driving dunk, it's valid, as well as you could argue the high end driving dunk is okay. The meter dunks have been definitely just a little bit of they're in a tough spot. Now I will have a video very soon of showcasing how I believe the meter dunk should work and does work currently, and maybe discussing my true opinions on the meter dunks just in general. But obviously, like I said, a lot of this game is based in like open dunks, open threes, stuff like that, and just enough dunk to be able to get a conservative quick dunk, aka the 80 for D-Book, the 65 for athletic hangs, stuff like that. We did a video on this very recently if you want to check that out. But point being, the low end of like the dunk rating is still important, and we're still factoring that into the video of talking about the importance of even that low end and stuff like that. So I think that's truly worth talking about, as well as, like I said, the high end is still capable. It's not perfect, but I think number 9 is a pretty respectable place to be. Right in the middle, nothing too ranked high, nothing too ranked low, if you ask me. So anyway, moving along, we have standing dunk. This is also ranked pretty low, number 15. I will say standing dunks are still very useful. I've been on a build that's 6'10 with 90 standing dunk, and it's very nice to actually have this compared to the 50, where you can actually reliably, bet on the fact that you're going to get that standing dunk animation, and consistently for that matter too. But meter dunks and stuff like that, and just powerful, consistent standing dunk animations, I don't think are very worth it. Now, this is still good on post scores. I will say, off the drop steps and stuff like that, they're very valuable and they can be depended on, like I said. So don't think that I believe that standing dunks are just useless or anything like that, but being 15 still means that there's a lot of things that are ranked above it, but there's still a couple things that are ranked below it. And again, ratings will be ranked pretty low because some have to be, and there are very useful, valuable ones in the future of this video. So naturally, number 15 is a place that I think standing dunk belongs. It's plenty good, like I said, but meter dunks are not broken like they are last year. I mean, man, if I was to do a rankings last year, which I did for that matter, I would assume standing dunk without looking at the old video would probably be around like number 5 or number 4 last year. It was so dominant, so unstoppable, but this year it's just more of a moderation thing. It's like okay to have, it's pretty nice, but I wouldn't think it's a end all be all of being on a big man per se. I could see plenty of stretch bigs not running it. I've been running on plenty of builds that have 50 standing dunk as an inside big man, and it's plenty doable as long as you have the right, teammates and utility and stuff like that. And for poppers, like I said, I could totally see you getting away without it. So just don't want to give it too much credit. Now, post control, we have ranked number 7, which is crazy if you want to talk about like all the game modes that it spans across, right? Like 5s, 3s, just all that stuff that they really don't play a huge factor in. But for 2s and 1s, it's a huge deal. Now, again, take this video with a grain of salt and think of it as more of a fun discussion, because you could talk about splitting this video up into like 1s, 2s, 3s, 5s. You could do it for all different types of them, but I think that's doing too much. It's way too many videos and just way too much, sorting of the ratings and stuff like that. So I just want to put in a more generalization and just factor in all game modes and what I think, which ones matter more, I guess. But again, if you were to talk about 1s and 2s, you could argue post control is like a top 3 rating because it's just so unstoppable and dominant. But I will say, it is still counteracted by interior D pretty well. I think it's, defendable for that matter. And I don't think drop steps and post spins are completely brain dead unstoppable anymore, in my opinion. Like I said, as long as you have interior D to counter it. So post control, number 7, I believe is a good spot. It really is just as simple as that. And if you want to talk 5s, we still have teammates like Tonic and Joey that play out here on like the corner spot ups that have high post control, and it's for things like post fades and post hops, as well as if I wasn't an inside big, they could still work their matchup with post spins and drop steps and stuff like that as well. So the spacing, if it were a thing, can be very dominatable in terms of if you get a really low defender, low interior D defender to have to guard, someone that has it high. So number 7, I think plenty respectable. You will see we have a lot of ratings that are ranked really low. Nothing yet has cracked the top 5, let alone even the top 6. Post control is our highest rated one so far, and mid-range is falling into our very low ranked as well at number 18. Now listen, again, I know there's a lot of you guys out there that are sleeper fans of like mid-range and driving lane, and they're ranked the 2 lowest so far in the whole video, and you're probably hating on it. But understand from the perspective of pretty much the generalization of everybody in this game and every game mode and stuff like that, there's so many game modes where mid-range mean absolutely nothing, like 3v3, and in some cases, for some players, 5v5. I understand that there's a lot of people, like I said, like Joey and Tonic, that come out here with a high mid-range and go like post fade, post top, midi shot creator mode and stuff like that, or on 1s you might think it's actually valuable for you. There's a lot of people in this game out there that this means absolutely nothing to. Like so many people that are just based on three-pointers and dunks, and that's what generally I would say about 80% of the community is built on, is just 3s and dunks. So when it comes to mid-range, I think it's a little bit of a forgotten rating, if you will, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I know we're off to a tremendous start. I'm sure there's plenty of people who are hating right now because so many ratings that we've revealed are in the negative side of things, obviously, where they're ranked a little bit lower. But you can see a lot of ones in the future coming up, like 3-point, ball handle, pass hack, speed with ball, perimeter, interior D, steal for sure, rebounding, speed, agility. Like all these are extremely important, even strength, stuff like that as well. So just understand that a lot of the things that have to do with finishing and mid-range in this game, I just don't believe are necessarily meta / like some of the best. Now, you want to talk about the best? I think 3-pointer is a pretty obvious, selection. If not, you could argue it against the top 3 if you would like, but I think the top 3 are pretty solidified when you end up seeing that in this video. So number 1 being 3-pointer. Let's just be honest. it's so built on spacing, everybody having it, even if it's at a low rating requirement. Like, let's say anything from, we'll say about 65 all the way up to 99. I think anything below 65 is not exactly important. It's not really impactful. So you could argue that the low end of it is not exactly carrying, but you could also argue that 65 is still pretty low end. So point being, I'm sure majority of you guys out there have around 78 three-pointer to, let's even say 75 for the poppers out there. So 75 three-pointer, 78 for the pure locks, stuff like that. You got about like 83 for the ISO point guards and stuff. You got 89 for some like, you know, low-end shooting guards / point guards and stuff like that. And then you obviously have the low to high 90s for all the PGs and two guards out there for like the meta pro-am style and stuff like that. And even some locks, for that matter, might even have some, you know, 90s on the three-pointer if you're like a 6'4" and stuff like that. So I'm sure I just hit a lot of you guys' builds and stuff that are generalized, you know, in this game. And I know, coming from the pure inside of all the community, you know, you wouldn't think that if this was a biased video, I'd have 3-point number 1, but it's just the truth. Even for pick and rollers out there, it still matters for you to be playing with guards that are very 3-point dominant, because that's what demands the attention for you, and it can get you the easy open pick and rolls and slips and stuff like that, or allow you to just have a lot more lanes opened as a pick and roller. So it's just naturally the most important rating in the game, if you ask me. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Now, we technically have free throw ranked number 20. What I really would do if I were, you know, not putting a ranking on this is just take it off, because I do believe that it's well worth the value of putting into the attributes. Now, I did want with this video to stay away from the value ratings and stuff like that a little bit, because I think this is more built on how dominant is the rating and how important is it to have in terms of like the, let's say, low end, high end, stuff like that as well. I don't really want to generalize the value of a rating, because honestly, I'd put free throw at number 1 if that were the case. It's so cheap and it's really well worth having personally. But you can also get away with having this at a low rating, in my opinion. You know, I've come out here with 60 free throw in the past, and I mean, today alone on a build that has 60 free throw, I was greening stuff like crazy. I was making probably around 85% of them, and I was pretty locked in on them. Granted, it was rec center, but you know, I mean, it is what it is. Anyway, free throw, I just want to kind of leave out the equation a little bit, so let's just go ahead and move along. Pass accuracy ranked number 8. Now, some could argue this being ranked lower than post control is a little bit crazy. Some could argue that, but I would still say you can get away with this at a little bit of a lower end. And, you know, obviously in some cases, 1v1, it quite literally doesn't matter. So we want to probably exempt that a little bit from the video, because we obviously don't really need to debate that. 2s, it becomes less valuable. The less people there are on the court, the less valuable pass accuracy is in general, right? 3s, 2s, you can get away with it being like lower and stuff. 5s, you definitely want it in the high 80s and stuff like that, in my opinion, if you're playing point guard or to be a reliable passer. I will say, I've been playing on a build that has 75 pass ac at big men, and I've seen it be plenty usable, in my opinion, and I've come from the biased perspective of someone that has 89 and 85 pass on pretty much all their builds. This has been the first one that I've actually played 5s on that I have 75, and it's still plenty respectable, in my opinion. So, I don't know, it's tough to say. I don't want it to be ranked super high where it's something that I believe is dominantly, you know, important, up in the same breath as like three-pointer and speed and stuff like that, but it is still something that naturally gets the ball moving around, and obviously we all need it on our builds. It's just not at elite levels. If you're someone that has a 99 pass ac in this game, I think you're tripping. It's one of the least valuable ratings in the game to possibly rank 99. I think 93 is pretty much where it caps out. You get the break starter and, you know, dimer at the next levels and stuff, and I think it's pretty much what I would say is the max. You can't say the same thing for three-pointer. No one could ever say 93 three-pointer is the max. No one could ever say 93 driving dunk is the max you should ever go. No one would ever say, well, some could say that 90 standing dunk and you know, 85 layup or maybe the max you should ever go. And that's why some of these are ranked a little bit lower, you know, and the same goes for pass ac. I think it caps out at 93, and you could argue that things like 75 are pretty valuable. But we're getting off on a tangent that's not exactly important to the video. I don't want to make this such an overthought thing. It's just naturally, what's the power of the rating and how important is it? So, next up we have ball handle. This is ranked on the below average side of things, obviously average being more like 10, and below average is where we're sitting at 13. So, what I want to say with ball handle, it's obviously still very important for point guards out there, and you could argue it's still even usable for some, you know, slashers and stuff like that, or stretch bigs, whatever the case may be. Obviously, centers, you don't really care about this too much. It is what it is. Lockdowns, somewhat don't care about it, but it can be useful in some cases. And you may even be looking at builds like Apollos that we've mentioned on the channel recently that have, like, you know, a 6'3" lock that has 81 ball handle, which is very usable, and that's why the low end, I'd have to argue, is still very valuable. Same with like 70, I believe it's 73 ball handle for the Giannis crossover. I'm pretty sure that's the case, and that's very good for the bigs as well. Same with like, you know, the pro sigs that you get with like 70 and stuff like that, with the crossover and the behind the back, still very valuable. So from low end to high end, ball handle is still very useful, and you could argue it being higher, but honestly, you can get away with, let's say, 81 ball handle on a build like Apollo's that can actually come out here and run point guard viably with it, with like very good animations that you can still get with that. Obviously, it's a little bit limited in terms of escape moves and stuff, but some of that may vary based on height. It's a little bit too deep for our conversation in this video. Point being, 13, I believe, is a respectable spot to put it, you know, above driving dunk, and I think you'll see it come into fruition a little bit more as a lot of the things in the video get unveiled. So anyway, moving along, speed with ball, much more important than ball handle if you ask me, especially at the high end. Now, this is where I think the high end truly carries. I mean, speed with ball, dribble style animations aren't really crazy overpowered when you're talking like anything from 75 and below. Like the, you know, Jalen Green is the best you can get for 75, but man, for a lot of the big wing builds and stuff like that, and the bigs, dribble styles suck this year, just in general, if we're being completely honest. I mean, what it's really carried by is the small guards and stuff. So like 6'4" and below, man, I mean, Darius Garland is dominant as far as a dribble style, and so is like Trae Young is also very good as well. So speed with ball is carried by the high end, I must say, and that's why it's maybe not, you know, necessarily some of the top ratings. We have it literally next to post control and pass act, which is kind of crazy if you're looking at it from like, you know, a 3v3 meta standpoint or like 5v5 standpoint as well, because you need a guard with elite, you know, speed with ball and enough to get Garland, which technically you can even just get with 86, 85, technically speaking. 86 is for the gold lightning launch, which just naturally happens more. So I would argue you don't even necessarily have to be at the high end of this, because really you cap out at 94 anyway. That's where legend lightning launch is. It's kind of crazy when you think about it and you put it in the grand scheme of things, like the fact that you need 99 driving dunk and 90 vertical to get legend posterizer, but you only need 94 speed with ball to get legend lightning launch. But once again, off on a tangent a little bit, just wanted to say, obviously it's capped out at the high end a little bit in terms of its value, but in that 86 to like 91, 94 threshold is very valuable. So moving along, the one that's ranked literally one spot higher than it, we have interior defense. Now, a lot of people are going to beef with this. They're not going to like that I have interior D ranked number 5 over a lot of valuable things that you may also see, you know, scattered throughout the video. But man, let's be completely honest, right? Let's start from the low end, talk about the high end. So if we're talking people that got 25 interior D, I couldn't hate a build any more in this game than someone who has 25 interior defense. I don't care if you're 6'3", you're 6'2", anything like that. You can get builds that are 6'3" with 75 interior defense, bro. And that's so good. It makes you so playable. You can get like good jump animations if you combine that with high block as well, which are very cheap. I know I didn't want to talk about value too much, but man, it is very valuable on smaller builds like 6'2", 6'3". You guys have heard me yap about that endlessly. And then if you want to talk about it on like a back end build, it's extremely important as well. Long story short, you can't contest anything in the paint in this game if you don't have good interior defense. That's just simply put. Now, you want to talk about the high ends of it and stuff like that. I think things like 88 is such good value. I mean, you're talking about stopping post moves with the post move lockdown. You got all types of stuff that's even correlated with off-ball best, and I'm not here to talk about badges too much. I'm talking about just in general, stopping slashers, stopping post scores. Simple as that, or even just mashing in general. And interior D is a true counter to it, and I know after the patch, it's low-key looking even worse, to be honest with you. Interior D was in a really great spot before patch, if you ask me, but regardless, now you need interior D. You desperately need interior defense to actually get stops in the paint, if you ask me. Hands up D is wishy-washy. Same with like jump contests are even still kind of mid. It's just you need interior defense somewhere on the court, if you ask me. If you come out here with someone that's playing paint D on like a bottom of a 2-3 in rec center or something like that, and you got 74 interior D on them, you're gonna feel it, man. It's terrible. But if you compare that to someone that has like 88 plus playing back end, or like paint D in the 2-3, if you will, it is significantly different. And that's where I'm going to argue it, especially in the high rankings of this video, is because, man, it's so valuable even into those 60s ratings for the guards, you know, 75 plus, and then into the high 80s and stuff. And honestly, I wouldn't vouch for this being above 90, if you ask me. I don't think anything above 90 interior D is worth putting on the build, but man, it is very dominant in terms of it's frustrating to go at as far as a slasher or someone that's like, you know, dunking below the basket, anything like that, or even a post scorers are struggling against this like crazy as well. So from anywhere really, you know, from 50 to 99 is somewhat decent value. I'd more so say 50 to 90. So anyway, moving along, we have perimeter D ranked number 10. Now, if you want to get like the, you know, sandwiches of this, if you will, we have driving dunk at number 9, so that's a neighbor to it. And you know, we don't have ones that are ranked like right above it, if you will, or below. I don't know which one you want to put like ball handle on the other end of it. Technically that's ranked below, and then dunk is ranked above. But anyway, Perimdi I think is right in the middle. It's like something that's necessary but not necessarily broken, if you will. Like, I don't think you'll ever play against, I mean, technically we just played against a team that ran 399 Perimdis on Rec Center, and that was crazy to play against. They're getting so bumpy. It was like great contest from everybody, and I mean, that was frightening stuff, I will say that much. So if you want to put any value to it, you know, on the high end on that regard. But I mean, you need this necessarily on every build. I mean, you can't be a freaking, I hate builds that come out here at like 7 foot or even like 6'10 plus, if you will, that have like 40 Perimdi or even lower than that, like 30 in some cases. That's crazy if you ask me, bro. I even saw Zach on a build like that, and I mean, he got like a couple good contests through the jumps and stuff like that in today's gameplay. But man, I don't know. The hands up D and stuff is terrible on the Perimdi with like such low ratings on it. And obviously, you know, you correlate it to the badges and stuff. You get Challenger, On-Ball Menace, Pick Dodge, or stuff like that. For the locks, it's important. And I would argue for everybody in the court, it's important because it's the counteraction to the #1 rating in the game, which is three-pointer. I mean, it's just, you gotta have it for sure. So we don't want to talk about it too much, but it's a very good value one. It's just, I don't think you can argue it as like a dominant rating that's like, you know, some of the best in the game, or such a necessity as like a mid pass act or like a good pass act, if you will. So I don't know. You guys can make an argument for Perimdi being higher if you would like, even driving dunk, I suppose. But I don't know. I think dunk maybe belongs just one spot above it for the sake of how necessary it is, even on the low end of stuff. But anyway, I mean, I guess you could argue the same thing as Perimdi, but it's tough. It's tough to argue, but you feel free to go ahead and make what argument pops up in your head. But anyway, moving on to number 4, we have Steal. This is still a very dominant rating even after patch. The lanes are crazy. Obviously, that's mainly what we're talking about, is just the lanes. The pluck steals aren't anything super like nuts, but it does still even help you play bump steals to have a higher steal rating, because it'll let you get, you know, into better animations, get out of the bump animation better as well. It's just naturally something that needs to be high on a lot of builds. You see a lot of bigs come out here with like even 60. I'm on one with 73 right now, and the lanes are plenty playable as well. Obviously, I've played on builds with 85, 90, 94, stuff like that. All these thresholds of Interceptor still play exactly how you would hope that they do, and it scales with every level, for sure. But anyway, point being, I mean, these are very tough to deal with. The people that come out here with high steal builds and you're on like 5s and stuff, or even 3s, I mean, dude, there's so many of them. 2s even, I would argue. Like, you see a lot of lane ability on there. 3s especially, and 5s especially. I think possession-based like games where it's like not make it take it, like 2v2 and 1v1. I don't know if you necessarily see as much steal because it's so like make it take it oriented. Obviously, getting the ball back is important, but to get stops while you're like adding up possessions, like in 3v3, if you get 2 steals in a game, you get 2 more possessions than the other team. That's huge and can really make a difference in terms of like you not having to 3-hunt as much as the other team does. Or, you know, it's like equal value to, you could say, offense rebounds, but not necessarily. Steals are probably even more valuable in that regard. But anyway, point being, they're very tough to play against, and you have to at least put some value on it. So number 4, in my opinion, is where steals belong. If you want to argue it a little bit lower, go ahead and try and make that argument. But anyway, moving along, we have blocks at rank number 14. You know, it's right there with standing dunk as pretty much like, you know, the neighbors, if you will. And I don't know. I just don't know if block belongs super high on the list. If you had to really make a decision between interior D and block, if you ask me, I'm going higher on interior D than I would block. Now, I still think that 74 to 78 threshold for block is very important, as well as you could even go to 84 if you would like, 88, stuff like that. It's plenty valuable, but I don't know, man. And I will vouch for block for sure on the low end of stuff. Like if you're a guard out there, we already just talked about this, where if you're like a 6'2 to 6'4 PG or something like that, and you don't have block on your build, you're tripping. It's so cheap, so valuable. Like I said, we're not going to talk value on the ratings too much, but interior D and block have to be talked about. I mean, it's just, you're tripping if you don't have block and interior D on your guard, or let alone your like small lock, if you will. Like if you're making a 99 perim, 99 steal build, at least have like 60 block and 60 interior D, bro. Don't go 25 on some stupid stuff. But anyway, point being, it's not a super dominant rating, but it's still necessary as far as like being in the argument in today's vid for like a below average one, but it doesn't belong like below standing dunk or driving lay or close shot or mid range, if you ask me. So that's where we got it, and it's right below ball handle. So anyway, moving along, we grouped O board and D board together. If you really wanted me to decide which is better, I guess technically D board is better to have than O board, just in a generalization of things, because obviously O board is probably only related to one, maybe two people on the court at a time. D board is for everybody. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be guards, like point guard, shooting guard, if you will, but it still helps. I mean, having box out beast, bronze with 55 D board is helpful for sure. You can make a huge impact as a guard on box outs. I've even seen it myself when I'm playing on it. But point being, obviously, there's like 4 to 5 people on fives that have to have D board, or really more like 3. We're talking the front court, like a 3 through 5, where if the lock has it, it's very beneficial. Or in some cases, teams might run the 3 on the back end and run 2 corners at the 4 and 5 like we do. And having 3 people that can contribute to D board is very helpful, as well as in some cases having 2 or 3 people that can contribute to offensive rebounds is dominant as well. It's tough, and I mean, you need to have this ranked high because everybody on the court has some form of competing when it comes to rebounds. So to have it higher than others is important and helpful for sure. So it's a hard argument to make because it's not like you're a specialist by having rebound high. It's just something that naturally a lot of people have. And it's one of the most valuable ratings in the game at 99 level and stuff like that too, with the Legend Rebound Chaser being so dominant. Even 96 if you wanted to go for, let's say, like Hall of Fame Rebound Chaser and Max Plus want it to Legend, or just to have it Hall of Fame in general. It's just a good spot to be, if you ask me. So rebound, we're putting at number 3. Like I said, if you had to really like pull my arm on it, whether I wanted to put one higher than the other, it'd be D board over O board. But I had to generalize these together because they're naturally both tied to the same badges, and it's more just what you prefer in terms of which side of the court you want to impact. So anyway, number 2, we have speed. This is important to have on every build. I mean, you could talk all the way down to locks, like maxing out your speed, whether it's a 6'7". I can't stress how stupid lock builds are. If you're like a 6'7" with like 78 speed or something, or like, and I've even seen it with my boy Kenan, who is one of my IRLs, and I'm sure he regrets that, and I know he does for sure. Like, dude, you can come out here on a 6'8" and have 86 speed. And like we're talking a 6'7" that has 79 or 78, that's crazy. You could make a 6'10" that has that kind of speed. And I just think it's crazy to not max your speed for your height, especially if you're like anything above 6'6", if you ask me. Like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 11, 10, 7 foot, 7'1", 7'2", all that. You should be maxing out your speed, whatever your height, weight, wingspan allows, for sure. And then for guards and like locks and stuff like that, I do believe in the high 80s to like 90 kind of sort of range, if you will, for like guards and locks. But for guards, I know it's definitely hard to justify affording like 90 speed or something like that. Naturally, you end up at like 86 in most cases because of your speed with ball, or maybe even like at least 81. So you have it high for sure. And I mean, man, like you can't get away with not having good speed in this game, if you ask me, especially as a big, especially as a lock. And like I said, in some cases, guard. I guess you can vouch for like going 80-ish just if you want to settle as a guard, but we won't stress this point too much. I just had to say this is one of the most valuable attributes in the game. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs it to compete with other people that have it high as well, and it just is good. So that's the end of the discussion for me. I mean, it definitely belongs at number 2, if you ask me. You can maybe argue number 3 below rebounding, but I don't know. It just seems like such a necessity. You could even argue number 1 if you wanted to really debate it. But anyway, moving along, we have agility ranked number 12. And I'll just go ahead and give away strength because it's right next to it as well. So 12 and 11, agility and strength. I had to put strength above agility, in my opinion. It's related to so many badges and so many play styles between locks, bigs, brick wall, post scores, just, lockdowns, playing with a movable enforcer and stuff like that. It's just important in a lot of regards. So agility is going to be a little bit lower than it because obviously this is still, yes, tied to, let's say, shifty shooter, if you wanted to argue anything other than just playing on-ball D, but agility is still very good in terms of playing good perimeter defense. So had to put it at least somewhat high, and you can see it's just ranked above ball handle, which I think is a plenty reasonable spot to put it. You could argue the other way around. You could argue a lot of things in this video, as I've already mentioned, but it is what it is. So 12 agility, 11 strength. Again, a lot of things related to strength that are important, and I'm not gonna lie, you do see vertical ranked number 17 on this video, but I'll vouch for it now. I believe in it as far as like helping shot blocking, helping rebounding and stuff like that as well. I don't think it helps at all getting dunks consistently, but it obviously still does give you dunk packages to, have the requirements for it. But 17 is probably a good spot to put it. I mean, it's ranked right below mid-range and driving lay, and then obviously free throw. So it's technically the 3rd lowest rank that we have if you don't count free throw. Let's go ahead and just take that away as our final kind of rankings, if you will, where we just don't even have it ranked. So to recap real quick, and I won't make this too long because I do appreciate you guys watching the video. And if you did make it to this point, put your favorite attribute rating in the comments to show us parts all the way through. But anyway, starting from worst to first, we'll go in that order. We have driving lay as our lowest ranked. We have mid-range ranked number 2 in terms of, like I said, we're going from bottom to top, so just bear with me when I say our number 1, number 2. So coming in next, we have mid-range. Next, we have vertical, and then at 16, we had close shot. 15, we had standing dunk. 14, we had block. 13, we had ball handle. 12, we had agility. 11, we had strength. 10, we had perimeter. 9, driving dunk. 8, pass accuracy. Number 7, post control. Number 6, speed with ball. Number 5, as we get into the top 5, interior D. Number 4, steal. Number 3, rebounding. Number 2, speed. And number 1, three-pointer. So let me know what you think of the overall rankings of this. I know it's hard to rank these, and it really is if you're talking from a really sweaty perspective. And I'm not even talking sweaty gameplay. I'm talking like getting real nitty gritty with the rankings and like talking about what's impactful and why and this, that, and the other. I just wanted to talk about the power of the ratings and the importance of it. So like the 2 biggest driving factors of this ranking system to me was how important and how impactful. Those are the 2 biggest things. Now, the reason I say important is, obviously, yes, fellas, I know the importance of a mid-range build that's coming out here as a post scorer, playing with me as a pure inside. You don't have to tell me twice about how important Tonic and Joey are to my play style and making it work. That's simple, at least for 5s. For 3s, we can get away with not having that because we have plenty of like guard creation and stuff like that we've seen, and I really could not care less about a mid-range shot if we're talking 3s for the most part. 2s, it's very important, obviously. So it just depends on the game mode in a lot of cases, and it's hard to come up with a list like this. But obviously, you clicked on the video, so you're at least interested in it, so you understand that it's a fun concept to talk about. It's hard to put an exact reason on everything. So take it with a grain of salt, or don't. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be raging in the comments, but it is what it is. Anyway, that's all video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, like I said, feel free to drop a like, so if you're new, turn on noties, all good stuff, and like always, try to 2,000 likes. Like I said, if you made it to the end of the video, put your favorite rating in the comments, search parts all the way through. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed. Take it easy, man. Peace.